Wait.
And now, coming to you live from a remote location somewhere in the Ozark Mountains, it's the Spooky Talk Show with Josh the Devil. And here he is now, Josh the Devil!
Alright, hey! Welcome to Spooky Talk Show. I am your host, Josh the Devil, and we are going to have some fun tonight, aren't we? Yeah! That's right, you're damn right we are. Alright. We have a fantastic show lined up, and I am not blowing smoke out your ass this time. I'm blowing smoke actually up Jared's ass. We'll find out about that later in a segment we call Blowing Smoke Up Jared's Ass. But first, I've got to tell you, Wendy's. I hate to complain about Wendy's, but Wendy's, they've discontinued the spicy nuggets.
Boo!
Boo is right, and proving once again, that gingers have no souls. That's right. Zing! Zing! Those are the types of jokes you'll hear on Spooky Talk Show. All right. What else? Pizza Hut! If it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not one place, it's another. Pizza Hut! They're making shoes that can order pizza, which I guess that'll come in handy at the gym, right? All right. Well, maybe they could just focus on making their pizzas taste better, and they wouldn't need these fucking fancy pizza shoes. Yeah. The pizzas taste like they're made from shoes. That's right. Those are the jokes you'll hear. That's right. You didn't write that one. Okay. A sex doll brothel is set to open in Barcelona. A sex doll brothel. No women, just sex dolls. And you're thinking, who's going to go to that? Well, how about World of Warcraft gamers for one? Yeah, see, because they can't deal with a real girl. You see, they don't want to interact with, because then it's just.
I get it.
And because it's plastic, you see, or are they rubber now? You would know. Are they
latex?
Okay, they're made. Okay, you learn something new every day here on Spooky Talk Show. All right, what else? A man dressed as Jesus. Which, those are just a dime a dozen. This one got stuck on an escalator when his cross punctured through the ceiling. And apparently he wasn't riding the escalator to heaven. Okay, I'm not going to argue that my delivery was not great on that, but I don't think it would have mattered at all. I think you would have yes, you will. All right. Okay, so we do have a great show tonight. Hopefully it's more enjoyable than those jokes. So what have we got? That's what you ask? Well, I'll tell you. We've got Zine creator, author, and I'm going to call him local archivist. Matthew Thompson is here. And he's going to tell us some amazing stories that focus a little bit more on the Little Rock punk scene of yore. But I think that you will find most of those punk rock stories are relatable no matter where you grew up. So he's going to be here to talk about stuff. And if that weren't enough...
It's not enough!
It's not enough. All right, well, it's not enough. We've got the fiery bluegrass sounds of Runaway Planet! That's right. They happened to be finishing up at a gig, and our crack team just put the hoods on them, stuck them in a van, and here they are. We fed them a little bit just to kind of keep them alive, but we told them we'd give them each a big spoonful of peanut butter if they make it through this set, okay? We'll see how they do. So, give it up one more time. Are you guys ready? Okay, well, I can't do this alone, so I got to get my co-host out here. You'll know him as that weird stand-up comic whose catchphrase is, yeah. Jared Lowry! Jared! The correct response for Jared is, that's really what he's hoping for every time he comes out. I'm going to fix my chair. Oh, and I dropped my microphone because that's how awesome we are. There we go. Not that it matters. Okay, Jared, what's going on?
Oh, doing shows and stuff.
Doing shows and stuff. All right. Last time you were here, you were telling us all about the Pigmen conspiracy.
Yeah, it's
Any
still
updates?
Going on, man.
Still going on. What's for those of you who don't know, Jared is concerned that there is a large uprising of half-man, half-pig mutants that for some reason are designed to kill you, or they're coming after you in particular.
They got a taste for blood.
They got a taste for blood. Why do you think they're coming after you in particular? I haven't heard a lot of stories like yours.
I eat a lot of pigs.
A lot of pigs. Are we talking bacon? Are you eating whole pigs? Or?
No, it's cooked. It's pork.
I don't think I want to know. I think we'll just leave it there. Okay, we're going to move right on to our Twitter question because, well, I think we've got a pretty good one. It's not exactly a Twitter question. For those of you who are new subscribers, you probably subscribed to us because you caught our interview where we happened to catch Adam the Woo and convince him to come in here and sit down and where you are and tell some stories. And so we got massive views and a lot of new subscribers, and anytime that happens, you get a lot of comments, you get a lot of thumbs up, you get a lot of thumbs down, and you get some really good comments. Some of them were really nice, and to those people we say thank you, and a lot of them were really mean, and to those people we say thank you so much, because we're going to read some of them, because we obviously can't write any jokes, so we've got to steal stuff from where we can. So tonight, instead of a regular Twitter question, we've got the top 5 comments you've given us on our Adam the Woo video. Woo! Starting out here, you don't have to clap for that, that's okay. Starting out with number 5, stupid, really, really stupid. All right, fair enough. Jared.
Almost as many views as the size of the studio audience.
Also, fair enough. Now, we did have about 5,000 views when that guy made that comment, so that was a little weird, but still, normal one, yeah, I think there were about 4 people here. Now, of course, Adam told us not to spread the word because he was afraid a lot of people would kind of mob the place. So we kept it kind of hush hush. But okay, so number 3, very high production value. Now,
solid gold.
Clearly that's sarcasm because, well, let's face it. I mean, or I guess it could have been a blind deaf mute. I guess that's possible, but I'm gonna say that was probably sarcasm. All right, number 2 comment on our Adam the Woo video.
Get the Colonel his own show.
Oh, see, now that sounds like a good idea, but getting the Colonel to just to have a crew would be pretty bad. I don't think he's going to keep a crew. All right, for those of you who don't know the Colonel, you'll have to check out some of his previous videos with us. He's a strange guy, to say the least. Okay, but number 1 comment on our Adam the Woo video, and I'm not sure what this means. Welcome to the new KKK America, frowny face.
What?
What is the correct response? Welcome to the new KKK America. This one. Yeah, that one left us all a little puzzled with a black writer on the staff in particular. Well, was this him? Oh. Yeah, when you fire a writer, they come back to get you, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. Okay, well, we'd love you to tweet us at Spooky Talk Show, because next week, we're getting kind of close to St. Paddy's Day, and we're all luscious, so St. Paddy's Day is finally an excuse where it's a little bit more acceptable for us to be our normal level of drunk. Our audience as well. Our audience will be so drunk on St. Paddy's Day they won't even remember that it happened. That's what we're looking at. Okay, so tweet us your best answers to our St. Paddy's Day question, which is your best hangover cure. We want your best hangover cure. So tweet us your answers. We'll ignore most of them and write really crappy jokes instead. But that's been in the past. Now that we've got a lot of subscribers, maybe some of you guys are really funny. We're not looking for actual real hangover cures. I think that's pretty apparent when I say give us your best hangover cure. I'm not looking for, Rolaids and Alka-Seltzer and, some things like that. Give us your best greasy food item or, 6 shots of tequila. Your mom's dick will probably. Don't steal the jokes for next week, for Christ's sake. All right, so tweet us at Spooky Talk Show your best responses, and maybe you'll see yours here. If we actually get some, we'll start actually reading people's real answers and give them credit, because we're not complete dickheads. I mean, we are most of the time. Now, before we bring out our first guest, I do want to mention this show costs about $8 a week to run, and that's just too much. So we've launched a Patreon campaign to try to help offset that $8. We can only reuse the cue cards so many times, and then I can't read them anymore. So they tried whiting out some stuff this week on one of them. So let's not do that, because Jacob's just going to start white spray painting the cue cards and then trying to write over that. Let's not get to that point. If you can donate $1 a month, that would be amazing. We have had our very first Patreon donation for $1 a month, which actually reminded me we have a Patreon campaign. So, do we have the graphic? We'll pop the graphic up there. Donate at patreon.com/spookytalkshow. We've also set up a Cafe Press store with some of our catchphrases and logos. So if you've just got to have that Spooky Talk Show t-shirt or coffee mug, then you can go to cafepress.com/spookytalkshow, and you can pick yourself up some crap there. And that also will help us keep doing this every week for you guys. Yeah. Hey, listen, I spent $1.89 buying that 2-liter of Mountain Dew for Adam the Woo. This is not cheap what we do, okay? So, right. And I know what you're saying, I find them on sale, but still. Okay, so we're going to get our first guest out here. Now, this guy's originally a Little Rock native. He grew up in what some would call the most wonderful time of Little Rock punk rock history. We had some of the best bands forming and coming through. It was just one of those magical times where things just all happened. And so we've got really the best guy to talk about that and give us as many answers to our questions as possible. And so without further ado, here we go. Matt Thompson.
Yeah!
Thank you. Thank you. Sit down here.
Thank you.
We'll get this clipped on here for you.
Oh, this is a lowrider.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, now my chair's as low as I can go. Okay. Now don't, yeah, there we go.
There's a reason that I didn't pursue music.
Yeah, we do the same thing, that's all right. Okay, so.
Good to be here, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in. Now
This is kind of cool.
You're a pretty busy guy. You've got quite a bit going on. I follow your Instagram, and you've, especially recently, you've been crazy busy at Green Day concerts, taking pictures up close, and doing some other stuff like that. And so thank you so much for taking your time to be here. Let's talk about your zine. And like a complete dick, I left them inside, or I would show our audience. But you can check out facebook.com/Fluke Zine and see some work.
Or FlukeFanzine.com.
Or FlukeFanzine.com. So you started what I think anybody would consider the classic stapled zine. When you're a music fan and you don't want to get into a band but you want to contribute. I think a lot of people have done that. That's how Maximum Rock and Roll, Sticking Blue, that's how all those classic zines got started. They were just fans of the music. They happened to know a lot of the people, realized they could interview them, take pictures. So you kind of did that same thing, right?
Yeah.
That was 1991.
That's correct.
Summer of 91. Tell us about the summer of 91. What was going on here?
Summer of 91, what was going on? Trusty was playing.
Trusty, yeah.
They were a huge influence, huge band here.
Any Discord, any fan of a lot of
Yeah,
Discord
they
bands
ended
will
up
recognize
moving.
that band.
That's correct. They ended up moving to DC and eventually landing on Discord Records.
Yeah.
So it seemed like every weekend there was like Numbskulls, Trusty playing.
Numbskulls and Trusty. Tell me this though. 91. What was different from the previous years? Did kind of things all come to a head about that time? People talk about kind of, were there? 1989, 1990. Was the scene just as big? Was it just as?
No, it began to grow, and then by '92 it was just like exploded.
It was more a little bit more in the mainstream of our culture than the underground. I think at that point it was less house shows and underground parties and more the bigger venues, right?
Yeah, well, locally it was like pretty much Vino's was the place to play.
Vino's is our classic club, and before it was Vino's, it was DMZ and Mandrakes.
Right, the name was changed.
But same location.
Yeah, and then, but all, you know, all these bands, like Fletcher Clement, he started booking bands.
Right,
national acts.
National
Like
acts.
Fugazi
That
came
was
through.
a big change for us.
Fugazi came through, and then Green Day came through. Jawbox, you know, a bunch of touring bands were coming through, and Trusty, you know, James Brady worked at Vino's, so anytime one of these bands, and he had access to the show calendar.
Ah, I see.
So anytime like Fugazi would get booked, he would just write Trusty underneath, you know. And
right. Who wouldn't?
And then so Trusty was a little bit older than the people who were coming to the show.
Right, they were kind of the old men at that point.
Yeah, and they were only like a year or two older than
Yeah.
us. But back then, you know, we're in high school.
Yeah, that kind of made a difference.
It seemed like they were like our elders, you know. But so the kids that started coming to these shows, Numbskulls, Hateful Day, No Thanks, Step by Step, you know, all these. They were the kids who were coming to the shows. They started to form their own bands.
Right. Yeah, natural progression.
And then Trustees started putting them on the bill. And
Sure.
the scene, really what happened was there's, you know, I mean, I went to Northeast. Kids went to Central High. Kids went to Old Main. Kids went to Parkview, Hall High.
It was everybody.
And they all came together. They found one place where they could convene and be a part of, because most of these kids were kind of not really comfortable being like hanging out with the jock kids or the, you know,
Sure.
the popular crowd.
I remember at that period we had there were kind of weird divisions and cliques. Now I was a little bit younger, but in my day, what I remember were the white hats,
Exactly.
which were all of the guys, and they all wore white hats, like baseball hats.
But they wore them like this.
Right.
Because they were rebels.
They were rebels. A lot of polo shirts and loafers and things like that. So there were white hats, and then there were stoners, and the label stoner was odd because it didn't mean you necessarily smoked weed or smoked anything or drank or anything like that. It was, if you weren't a white hat, you kind of lumped into that stoner. If you listened to decent music at the time, you just became a stoner. And
Metallica, Anthrax.
Metallica, whether you were in the metal or regardless of that, it was just those kind of two groups, which was great at the time because your friends were into all sorts of different music.
Right.
And then that showed at a place like Vino's. You had an incredible mismatch of different people from different backgrounds into different music, but all relating kind of in the same movement.
Yeah.
And then forming all of these bands. Now, how long did it take before it went from just house shows to filling up the clubs? Was it really when Fletcher took over and started bringing in the big bands? Is that when
honestly,
the little bands started coming out and forming?
Yeah, honestly, there weren't any house shows really that I was aware of.
Really? So it went from
it started at Vino.
It started right there.
Well, really, it started before that. It started at Robbo opened up a place called Annex.
Now, Robbo will likely be a guest in season 3,
That would
maybe
be great.
season 2.
That would be awesome.
He'll have some good story.
His venue was short-lived, but they had the Meat Puppets play.
Yeah.
You know, really what happened and
Black Flag, right?
Well, Black Flag.
They played
that's what I was
Black
gonna
Flag
say.
played the SOB.
Here's what happened really is and it's in my new issue. It's in Fluke 14.
Yeah, and Black Flag playing Little Rock at that point was insane.
That was the beginning. The Black Flag show in February of '86. That was the first punk show in Little Rock.
Wow.
And that sparked something in Little Rock. And so Tim Lamb and Robbo were there. Tim Lamb started up a fanzine called Lighten Up.
Nice.
And Lighten Up was the first fanzine in Little Rock.
Really? Okay.
And that is really like the true beginning, that era, like mid-80s.
Yeah.
And if you look at zines then, that was probably, if you look at there weren't many zines then.
Let's get,
That had to have been.
You wanna get
let's
over
get,
here?
let's get Andy Conrad over here. Andy Conrad, was there when...
Can we give it up for Andy Conrad?
Formerly of the Numbskulls, we're talking about your band so much, we might as well just get you over here to be in the story. I'm gonna try to aim this mic over towards you a little bit more, so we can maybe pick you up a little bit better. All right, so Andy, you were there. You were when Fletcher suddenly started bringing these big bands in. How were you in a band when it started happening, or were you first just an observer, just a fan?
I guess I started as an observer. I went to church. This is gonna sound weird at the beginning, but met some kids at a church youth group when I was 12, 13.
I think actually a lot of us can probably relate to finding other misfits in a church youth group. I think.
But around the same time, just like you were talking about the white hats and the jocks and all that, like I didn't fit in school and found skateboarding just around the corner from here.
Yeah.
And found other rock music, and then randomly at this church youth group that my mother wanted me to go to, but I didn't last long at, by the way, I got kicked out.
Kicked out of the church.
Kicked out quick. But through a girl I met there who was a little older than me, she took me to DMZ, to Squids and Flaming Lips, and then we realized that we could play in rock, we could play in bands.
Yeah.
And then we met Trusty, who was a bit older, and there weren't, just like he said, there were not house shows, none of that. Vino's came along in '91 and kind of changed the game, but there was a rift. When those shows at the river and all of that was happening, there was literally nowhere else to go.
Right, now so
And
that's one other location that we hadn't really talked about. And Andy, I'm gonna see if I can get this closer to you because I know our sound is not great.
Please put it right in his lap.
just kind of, yeah. We'll just
We've known each other for a long time.
This is not the most awkward thing these guys have done together. Okay, so
That's
true.
so here's the other interesting location. Is the river. We had a spot. No, kind of. It's got to be as awkward as possible. If you want to just gently stroke it. So we did have one before there was a nice club with a sound system and a stage and lights. The one other place that you could set up on your own was a nice little spot down by the river, the Belvedere, right?
But that came later.
That came later.
That kind of came later.
That came later. Now,
Here's what happened.
Why was the need? Why did the need for that arise?
I'll tell you. So here's what happened. Trusty left.
Ah, right. They moved to DC.
They moved to
Okay.
DC.
What happened to the scene?
What's that?
What
What happened to the
happened?
scene was the kids who our age were coming to Trusty, high school kids, junior high and high school kids.
Ah, okay.
They got a little bit older.
Yeah.
And we started to say, hey, I mean, Vino's was kind of, after Trusty left, it's kind of like, Trusty was like Vino's house band.
Ah, okay. So
And when they left,
big hole left.
when they left, it was kind of like a vacuum. And we just started doing we began to learn more about the DIY culture, do it yourself.
Right.
And we began to just do shows ourselves. And we realized nothing against Vino's, but we didn't need Vino's.
Right. Your fans were going to come
I
wherever
think-
you were.
I think there was an honest, like, kind of fuck you middle finger to, like, we thought,
The
well, you guys so
establishment.
good, you're this, yeah, exactly.
Sure. You're
Of any
taking a
kind.
cut. You're the man.
Granted,
We didn't,
Okay.
no one needed a cut.
granted of us, half of us would end up working there a lot,
Right.
but that's kind of how we just didn't want to be, we didn't want to hang out there, we'd hang out in the parking lot and around the block, like a corner, a block away.
The real scene at Vino's was in the parking lot.
Yeah.
For a
Yeah.
long
For
time,
real.
For a real long time.
Yeah, I think that's pretty typical of a lot of
Yeah.
places. Yeah. The parking lot.
I was talking
like
about,
that.
I was talking about,
Back by the dumpster.
I was talking about that with someone today, and I said, I've always felt I've been to a lot of shows, but I always felt really self-conscious and kind of like out of place and just didn't quite fit in. And she was like, Laura Walden, a friend, an old school friend, she was like, you know, I think isn't that like pretty much how everyone felt? And that's like why we were all out in the parking lot, like
Yeah.
Well, even
medicating, you know,
even before it was
to get right to go inside, you know.
even before it was Vino's or it was still Mandrakes, and there were other events going on in there that I had no idea they were happening. I just knew my friends were in the parking lot.
Exactly.
You probably
And it-
missed some amazing things, but you were
Probably,
having just as good a
looking
time
back on
at
it,
the
looking
party.
back on it, probably.
Probably
Actually,
missed some
did
really good
miss some cool
bands.
stuff.
Yeah.
I do remember going to see Flock of Seagulls in there. And that was
A lot of seagulls played the
Yes,
rock.
they
I
did.
had
Totally
no
like-
idea.
Man.
Amazing.
You know who else played there was the Birds.
The Birds.
Yeah.
Really?
I actually went to that with my brother.
Wow. What? Amazing.
Everything
All kinds.
At Vino's?
My mind is blown
It
again.
was like 1989, 1990.
Bunch of stuff happened on that
In
corner.
that tiny 70s.
Flaming
That's a legendary spot.
Flaming Lips is one of the first punk shows I ever saw, and I thought, hell yeah, I've been here once, and I'm ready to slam dance, and this is gonna be the coolest thing ever. And me and my friend I'm gonna lie to his mom and say he's staying at my house, and he's gonna lie and say I'm staying at his house.
Sure, sure.
We're gonna get dropped off at skateboard all day downtown, and we go to there, we go to Vino's, or not Vino's, it's DMZ, and pay our $5, check our skateboards at the very same podium that's still there.
That's right.
And we think we're gonna slam dance and it's gonna be rad. We skate down to the McDonald's that's still there and see these guys in painted leather jackets that say Flaming Lips, and we're like, holy shit. We're all starstruck, even though we have no idea who we're looking at.
Right.
And, but they look cool as hell, and they're not from here, so we're like, yes, rad. So we get back to the show, and then there's fog machines, and what's his name's got a homemade didgeridoo made of PVC pipe, and bass player's
And there's
got a wooden door made into
seating.
yeah, and everybody's sitting down, and there's fog machines, and we're
I wasn't there.
So more of
What the fuck is this?
more of an art performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah, we're looking
Which is
back
what
at
they're
it.
all about.
Right. Right. But
I
you
just
had no
saw them,
idea.
by the
You
way.
were. Yeah.
I wasn't at that show. That was a little before my time. But I just saw Flaming Lips in Phoenix at
Wow.
the Arizona State
They
Fair.
continue to get weirder and weirder.
Oh,
I
it
don't
was
think
great.
they'll ever
They were great.
hit the top.
But just like you said, like looking back, we had no idea what we were seeing, but that was really amazing for the time. 'Cause it was probably 87,
87,
87, 88,
88, early 88.
Wow.
and
So they're still finding their own sound, really, at that point. They had,
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Vino's and it didn't really matter who was playing. Really, all it was you knew that your week at school was over and you got to go hang out with some people who were like-minded.
Yeah.
And really, that's the connection that keeps it all together. You know, just like tonight. You know, this is the same thing right now.
exactly.
The same thing. All like-minded people. You know, and not a whole lot of people, but
Well,
a
that's how it
great
starts.
connection.
Yeah.
That's how it starts, and it starts with a connection, just like you
So I
started to say
think,
with,
yeah.
like you started to say with those river shows. Those river shows, nothing was mainstream about that. That was underground
Yeah,
as
that was,
hell.
everything was
And-
DIY. That's
and-
just like, I mean, those are the shows that, when I was in high school, those are the shows I heard about that was like, this was kind of the standard that was set. This is where the bar was set. There were these huge shows at the river, and I was like, well, who put that on? They get some promoter with, no.
No,
It was, they gathered up enough gear to have a PA system where you sang through a bass amp, and
What
that was
happened-
it. I mean, yeah.
What happened was, I'll tell you what happened was, there was a record label, a local record label here called File 13 Records.
File 13 Records, sure.
And all it was, initially, it was just cassettes, you know, and then Hateful Day put out a 7-inch. Anything that came out of out of Little Rock, North Little Rock, basically was File 13. And
Yeah.
so we'd send it off, or they'd send it off to Maximum Rock and Roll.
Mhm.
And then Maximum Rock and Roll, you know, they would distribute 20,000 issues or however many. And then people would start to read about these reviews on these records, and they would write in File 13. And then through that, people started to get Bert Taggart's phone number. And then they're like, hey, we're coming through Little Rock. Can we
Right.
play a show? And Bert Taggart and other people, there's certain people here who really make things happen.
The
Bert-
right place, kind of right time, had
Bert-
suddenly
yeah, just
the
go
opportunity.
getters.
Yeah.
There's people like
Yeah.
me, really, I didn't do a whole lot. I did a zine.
Yeah.
But I didn't, I wasn't like just grinding like Bert
Well-
Taggart and, some other people like. So that's what happened. National bands started getting his number, and he's like, yeah, you can play the River, and then you can play
Yeah.
Strange Brew. There was Strange Brew downtown. There's
Right.
a coffee place.
It was literally like you would put a phone number in a magazine that would get printed maybe 2 months later, and 6 months after that you'd get a phone call, and maybe somebody actually took the message or answered it at the right time. You go, oh my god,
Right,
so and so
right.
might be coming through town. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Can
you remember some of the bigger bands that just you were amazed
Born
you were
Against.
playing with? Born Against.
Heroin,
Born Against Heroin,
Hell No, Merrill, Universal Order of Armageddon, Unwound.
Unwound.
He lived at a place called Rice Street.
Right, Rice Street.
Unwound played. J Church played.
Church played there.
8 Bark.
That's like that's when it transitioned into we were old enough to not live with our parents
Spit Boy.
or 11 of us live in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, 11 guys in a 1-bedroom.
But see,
Well,
you
we
know,
really did that.
Yeah,
Like, he
no.
and I lived like in a 1-bedroom.
with 6 people,
Yeah.
6 dudes.
Stepping
Six
over
dudes.
each other.
And you know what I was
Sausage
thinking? And
party.
one guy, John Pugh, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like sitting there smoking a cigarette or whatever.
We used to smoke inside.
And the closet door would open and John Pugh would come stumbling out. He slept in there all night.
Pretty sure he slept standing up too. 'Cause
All
that
right,
thing was
so
tiny.
John Pugh's a great person
Uncle Sam.
that I'd like to bring up in or segue.
He's amazing.
Because he's one of the people that our non-Arkansan viewers might actually know. He's performed in quite a number of bands.
Chick.
Chick is what. And before that was
Red Brigade.
what was the band before Chick? I can't remember. Wasn't there another one before that?
Not a national.
But who-
Locally, he did Red Brigade. He did.
Jet Django. I played
Jet
bass and
Django.
Jet Django tried to. I wasn't very good at it.
Who else from these guys
Kept
from the
it from
scene
falling down.
have now? Who else has taken off?
He played.
in some bands?
He opened up for his band Numbskulls. Really, I'd like to talk about the Numbskulls.
Let's talk about the Numbskulls.
I don't want to talk about the zine. I don't want to talk about the
I
Numbskulls.
know that Andy is really uncomfortable right now, so let's talk about the Numbskulls. I think that's
Okay,
that is a good
here's
thing
how
to
I
point out.
discovered punk rock.
All right.
Okay, 1987, 1988. I'm in junior high at Lakewood. Okay, let's
I can picture
let's
that.
say 10th grade. I'm a sophomore. I'm a freshman at
It's North Aurora School.
I'm a sophomore at Northeast High School.
All right.
After school, this is a long story, but after school, I see this guy on the corner and he's selling Thrasher magazines.
Okay.
And I'm like, there's no other skaters in school. That really everything started from skateboarding.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. well,
So I'm like, this dude's selling Thrasher,
Couple
and
blocks from
it turned out being Jason White.
Okay, Jason.
That's
Wadu.
how I met Jason White. He was
Right.
14 years old, standing on the corner. We're waiting on our parents to pick us up.
Now, for Jason White's in Green Day. For those of you, it's a little band that you might have heard of.
Right, and so I buy a Thrasher off him. I strike up a conversation with him, and then I don't see him anymore.
Now, wait. Now, just to be clear, these are like back issues, not like he's gone to the
back
7-Eleven
no.
and just taken a stack.
No, back
Okay.
then you could
You could write them and
You
they
could
would
write
just
them.
send
Get
you-
back
They'd
issues.
send you
a bag
bulk.
of 'em.
Okay.
I
don't-
you'd sell them.
Don't want to incriminate.
No,
Talk about a go-getter, like he was.
Yeah.
He was just straight doing that.
Yeah, and so I was like, wow, that's cool. And I
Selling
bought
them
an
to, like,
issue
2
off of
kids.
him. And then a year passed, I didn't see him. He disappeared. He went to the Bay Area with his family for a year. Fast forward to February of 1989, I go and see, I'm a let's see. I'm a junior in high school. I go and see Metallica play at Barton Coliseum.
Yeah, speaking on Metallica, I think all of us
And
are
Justice
jealous.
for All tour.
Yeah,
Thank you very
oh,
much.
And who do I run into?
Jason White.
Jason White. And he's with Andy and Colin and Shobin.
My dad drove us.
But I didn't see these other guys. I just saw Jason. And,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, Jason, blah, 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 where you been? Da, 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 da. And he's like, oh. And we're starting to talk, and he's like, you ever heard of this band called the Skinfleets? And he's asking me about all these bands that I've never heard of. I'm like, dude, I've heard of, like, if I can't get it
Exactly
at
what you
Camelot, if I can't get it at Camelot and the K-Mall,
Camelot.
I haven't heard of it.
That's right. A lot of us
Okay.
showed at Camelot. I worked
If
at
it-
Musicland.
Yeah, if it wasn't Sex, yeah, Musicland downstairs by Lighting Castle. Yes. So I'm like, I don't know what in the hell the Skinfleets is, but I'm into that.
That sounds cool.
You do
You're
now.
already
I
into
do
that.
now.
Yeah.
You know, as time went on, I learned about the Skinfleet.
Right. Yes.
So then here I am, and this dude Jay Lytle.
A dude that has
Six Shine,
done
thank
more
you.
than a lot of people know.
I see him in the hallway at my school, and he's like, dude, I got this tape, you want to buy it? It's a local punk band. I'm like, hell yeah, what is it, you know? And I hand him my $3,
Yeah.
and it's this tape called Numbskulls, Pimping Around the Globe.
I had a copy of that as well. Yeah.
And of course I go,
I don't. I had one.
not many people have one.
There, yeah.
I got a
If
copy,
you're watching this and you have a copy of Numbskulls,
You know what to do. So I went home, I listened to it, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is awesome.
Yeah.
They had a theme song, they had the Fletch
the
theme
theme
song.
song from Fletch, which was the if any fan of Fletch, and I heard that immediately and was like,
Bang,
I
bang,
love
bang,
these guys'
bang,
sense of humor, and the fact that this was
And
something
that's
that
what
they
it all
thought they should
was.
work up.
These dudes, okay,
There was bikini underwear.
bikini
on
underwear,
Dallas
which
Fletch.
was, so Jay Lytle was their manager, okay?
13 years old.
13-year-old
selling
manager
Shitty demo tapes.
selling shitty
And
demos.
so
Eighth
I'm
grade, we
like,
had a manager.
I had no, true story.
Oh my god!
I had no idea what Vino's is. I have no idea. I've heard about this band,
We
Iconic
didn't know who the
Christ.
manager was.
Yeah, I heard about this band, Iconic Christ, but that was across the river.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right. You
And that
were
was
in North Little Rock.
way
That was
over-
happening in Little Rock,
Yes.
so far away.
Barely old
And
enough to
nobody
drive.
had a car.
About a mile and a half.
You know, if we took the bus to Little Rock to skateboard on the weekends.
Right, right. So yeah, so,
And
you
so
you can't take the bus at night at that point in Little Rock.
No.
So
But see, these dudes were all hanging out, and I wasn't hanging out. I didn't know them really.
okay.
But I'd see them skating around like Lakewood Village and stuff.
Sure.
And I was like, these dudes are really cool, you know. And I'd kind of talk to them a little bit, but I never like really got in there with them.
For the record, I was used to getting arrested.
Yeah. And so I was just like enamored by these guys, you know. And these dudes were like, they were goofy as hell. They were like, they did their own thing, you know. It was like Shobin, he was like this black dude with a full-on beard
Yeah.
in the 9th grade.
Jerry
Jerry Curl.
Homeboy had a full beard,
Now
looking
he
Full
had
beard,
dreadlocks at
man.
one point, right?
Just
He
like
had,
you.
he,
Way
yeah.
less gray and a Jerry curl.
Yeah, that's a funny story because at one point he had
Not
like,
even kidding.
at one point he had like these weird like weaves, like braids.
That's what I remember.
And Jason and I used to sit at lunch with these black
Afraid of him?
dudes, and one of them was like, we were talking about Shobin, and he was like, the black dude Derek, he was like, Shobin, he was like, oh, that Milli Vanilli motherfucker. I was like, he ain't a real brother.
That dude, that kid,
You know?
that kid moved here from California and made waves in the black community in North Little Rock through like 3 different school districts.
The black kids didn't understand
Just
him.
going to school up the hill at Ridge Road.
The black kids
They
didn't get him. The
motherfuckers
white
saw
kids
him
didn't
and
get
was
him.
like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
But he skated, we skated, we all, and so we all started kind of the like. Numbskulls was the first punk band that I ever really got into.
So after you got that tape,
We got shitty.
so then you had to see him live.
Well,
So
see,
what was your- right.
the first Numbskulls show was the Valentine's Day dance at Lakewood Junior High.
Oh, okay. This is not right there. Andy, you played the Valentine's Day dance at Lakewood Junior High. The Numbskulls Can you now?
Think John Hughes.
Same set list, the same songs I heard on Pippin' Around the Globe.
Oh,
You
yeah.
played the Fletch theme song. You played
Oh
the
yeah,
Kitty
oh yeah,
Underwear.
oh yeah. And personally, to me,
Supersonic
Were there,
Fart.
Supersonic Fart. Were there any slow numbers?
No.
I don't remember any. I mean, it was a
No.
Valentine's Day. No. So
not at all.
okay. So
personally, to me, it was kind of a fuck you to like A
To the Valentine's Day dance.
sure.
A to the
yeah.
jocks and all of that stuff too. But
How
like,
did you get the gig?
but
That's
there
what I
was-
gotta know.
oh shit, I don't know. One of them went to school there.
Jason.
And somebody
Jason went
just
to school
with,
there. I don't
just
know how
you
they
guys got
put
the
that
gig
together.
unheard. The band, nobody had heard the band. They just said, "Oh, these guys have a band," and they
I'm
weren't
sure it was
dissuaded
like-
by the name of the Numbskull.
I mean, I'm sure it was. I guess they overlooked that part, but I'm sure it was okay, we could hire some 35-year-old dudes who will play like Air Supply covers or
Sweet! Where?
or a student.
Was this a paying gig?
Of course not.
No. Okay.
Okay,
My mom
okay.
was pissed. She had to fucking.
So
drive
that's
it.
the real
Let's-
reason
let's-
that you guys had got the gig.
But
Let's-
like it was an
you would do
ultimate,
it for
but to
free.
me, but to me, it was kind of an ultimate fuck you because not, at that time there was Northeast. It was like the rich kid school, which the white hats would come down to Levy and fuck with the old Maine kids because that was like the poorer, more working class, and then Rose City was
This
like
really
the
is
real
John
poor
Hughes.
kid.
I've seen this
And
John
it was
Hughes.
like
Exactly
really like
what it was.
this is some of the S.E. Hinton type stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like I hated going up into that neighborhood and to be able to come up there with the safety of my parents and Colin's parents dropping us off, but also
Right.
like and having
Well, there
friends
was-
and you're in
yeah.
a band and I'm like I'm in a band, dude. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
at your
there
dance.
was-
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
at your dance that nobody invited me to. I'm playing the motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there. Give me the crowd reaction.
Oh, they hated it. Oh god. Oh good god damn it. They
Well, I mean,
hated
that's
it.
kind of what you were hoping
We didn't
for,
play the whole
right?
thing. We didn't play the whole thing.
Yeah.
Clearly, they were like spinning records, but man,
They were playing
We were
like
in the
Ready for the
cafeteria.
World and
we were in the
shit,
cafeteria. There's a damn disco ball, and god damn it, they
Perfect,
hated it,
dude.
man. I
I
remember.
mean, seriously, what Numbskull show
I remember.
should every Numbskull show should have had a disco ball?
How did you possibly top the Valentine's Day?
Oh, let me tell you,
Tell
Got
me.
lucky
their
on that
next
one.
show
Got
Oh.
lucky there.
was a family reunion barbecue.
A family barbecue.
And you see why I didn't want to talk about Fluke. I want to talk about.
I
You
get
see
it.
why he is here.
I get it. I get it. Supersonic fart at a family reunion
Okay,
barbecue.
well-
Is this an outdoor or indoor event? I'm trying to.
Outdoor.
Outdoor event, Indian Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many people?
That was
How
also
big of a
really-
family reunion?
It was Jason White's family.
Okay, so
Family
that's how you
reunion.
got the gig. So that makes sense.
Hey everybody, Jason's band's gonna play, so we show up. Again, 13, 14, no, maybe 14 years old. Enough that
Jason's band's going to be playing Verizon later this week. by the way.
Right. Yeah, that's right. We're playing a family
14
reunion
years old,
barbecue
and
at
he-
Verizon.
Well, he said he's got family members that he doesn't even know coming to the show.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Go ahead.
and yeah, we're young enough to like, okay, I can stand here and go just barely hold on to the damn thing. And
I know that song.
There's quite
but
a few
it's
of us punk rock
clever.
experts
But it's
gonna
clever
do
to
that.
write songs about farts and
Yes, it
underwear
is.
and.
Bikini, underwear, bikini.
But
Hey.
yeah, it was
Fruit
a
Loom.
white family and not even no pun intended. It was
True.
a white
Gucci.
family reunion and there's barbecue and hot dogs and it's in Indian Hills
Soda.
and we're way too fucking loud because no one expected that. And
God, I wish I would have been there.
I,
Yeah, because he asked me
I mean-
earlier, he's like, so you're at the first Numbskull show? No. No, I wish I was at the first Numbskull show. Or the second. The first Numbskull show I saw was Women's City
well,
Club.
that's the next
The
skip.
Women's
That's the
City
next
Club.
skip.
Okay.
That
That's
oddly
the Women's
weird.
City Club. Okay, no, that. I mean, a lot of DIY punk rockers. You book where you can. You book any place where
I
you
don't
can.
think
you
that.
set it
Okay,
up wherever
so
you
there's
can.
this kid.
We played
there was
VFW
this-
halls.
This was
and-
before the river, any of that.
This is
Okay.
There was
before.
no Dinos. There was a hiatus between DMZ and Dinos. There was nothing going on there.
It was the
There
first punk
nothing
show on
to
Little
happen.
Rock in 6 months.
There was
Okay.
there was nowhere to have it.
And there was this kid. Am I holding this right?
Yeah, give it to him. Turn it. Fix it. Yeah, there you go. You're a little, Andy, you're a little quieter, I think, than Matthew is.
Sorry.
So no, it's okay.
And there was this kid, Leif Eklund, whose dad had a natural foods grocery store.
Which turned into beans and grains and things.
Well, it was called Beans and Grains and Things, then
Yeah.
became Whole Foods and whatnot.
Right.
And he went to Parkview, the same school I did, high school, 10th grade. And came up with this idea. I don't exactly know how he really even went through the logistics.
He
of
had
this
some
shit,
connection
but
to
he had a
Women's City
connection.
Club.
He had a connection to just to have the space of the Women's City Club. And
Right.
then we got there, and he got Trusty, another band from Memphis.
In Dallas.
No, they were from Dallas.
Agitators, yeah.
The Alligators. Because someone misprinted it on the.
Wait, they were the
Hey,
agitators, but
the
it was
Agitators, but on
misprinted as the
several
alligators.
flyers, it was the Alligators. And they were
Agitators,
pissed.
alligators.
And they were pissed. They showed us.
I'm
they were like,
sure
"What?"
they were. I was gonna ask, how did they feel about it when they got
okay,
into town?
It's
and
not
their
like
names-
anybody knew
Well,
who
not
they
only,
were anyway.
okay, well, not only did they show up to town thinking like we're a punk band coming from the big city of Dallas, and we get to Little Rock and go, who the hell are these guys, and what
Sure.
the fuck is this? And you misspell our shit. Like they were mad. And it was a very successful show. Robbo's
It
got
was
Yeah,
a lot of
what
people's
kind
first
of-
punk show.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've heard about
wow.
it.
It was
What
my
the-
first
What was
punk
the
show.
turnout? I've heard
It
different
was about
numbers.
100, 150 people.
I would
And those-
say
that was pretty much
way more
everybody
people.
who was into it came out. That
I
was
would
their
say-
big show.
I would say about 150 people, way more people who ever had any idea what that might have been. We certainly had no idea.
No. I had no
and
idea.
it was, I mean, it's a spot that was built over 150 years ago where kids go for cotillion, you know.
Right.
John
Like,
Hughes used to
and
go to
like
Cotillion.
suddenly
Right.
there's sweaty guys with no shirts and mohawks.
That's perfect.
And then to me, I was
Parents were there, like, oh my god.
Older-
And the people-
older dudes
the
and
people-
women,
that run the
girls,
place were like,
you
"Whoa,
know.
what have we done?"
like art types. It wasn't just punk kids, but it was mostly high school kids. Kids.
I mean,
15,
shows that
16, 17.
Yeah.
And that sparked a whole new thing.
So
That was my first, and here's what happened. I walked up,
that's actually
basically
where I first met this guy.
here's basically how I met Andy, is I walked up, I mean, I'd seen him skate around and stuff, but
Terrible.
he had, his bass strings were like all, like way out, you know, and I pulled on one of them and it broke. And he yelled out, "Some faggot broke my bass string!"
it sounds like one of your catchphrases.
Sorry. But, you know, this was 1989.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted to say the most offensive thing you could.
And he's good at that. He's still good at that.
There was a time when you could use that word. It just meant asshole.
And yeah,
That was-
exactly. And no
you
offense,
know.
I'm not, you know, I just,
Yeah.
he's the one that said it, not me. But no, so anyway, it was, I don't know, it was a great time, man. And so,
Actually, it wasn't. Right then, like, we hated each other. Like,
yeah,
immediately, it was like, I hate that guy.
well, there was a weird
My
riff.
first big show, this guy fucked it up.
There was a weird, yeah, I did fuck it up. There was a weird riff too, because Jason White had gotten kicked out of Numbskulls prior to that show.
Right. And yeah, until you
And
brought this up
Jason-
tonight, I had no idea he was in the band.
Yeah, and Jason and I
I was
started
sure
hanging out.
I was sure we'd ruined his musical
Oh,
career
I
at
see.
that
So
point.
you became sort of the enemy by default because you were.
Yeah,
you were
because you
hanging
know,
out
back,
with
you
him,
know,
but
you're
I
like,
wasn't in the band anymore.
if you don't like my friend, then I don't like you.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so that's how that went down. And
I was
then,
sure his musical career had ended that night. I was positive.
Yeah, you were positive that when Jason White was kicked out of the Numbskulls, he would never
That was
form
it.
any
I had-
band worth
I
a
had-
shit at that point.
No.
I had never read Rolling Stone at that point and had no idea that I would stop reading it later.
and so then Numbskulls got pretty, like, their momentum picked up.
Right now they, yeah. Now the
And they
Numbskulls, you
won-
guys opened but you guys became kind of the trustee to some point where you guys were always on the bill with the bigger bands. If there was a better band coming
They
through,
played with all. They played with
the
Flat Red
Numbskulls were
Mountain.
listed.
Believe me, I was in that band and it was always a better band.
They played with. They
it's
opened up
funny.
for the Romantics
But it's
at
funny.
ULR.
The Romantics.
At ULR,
Wow.
he was 16.
What
I've
did,
won in
what,
my
did,
career.
what did the Romantics
I-
think about you guys? Did they like you guys?
No,
or-
we'd won that stupid contest that they called the showcase now.
Ah, there was
But
a
at the
contest
time-
to
The
open for them.
musicians
Okay.
showcase or whatever it is they call it now. That's what they called it then. And
Okay.
we were the youngest dudes, you know, bold enough to show up and play punk music at a club that we weren't old enough to get into. You know, our
Right,
parents
right.
dropped us off.
Right.
There was a band, when we made it to the finals, there was some heavy metal band that had rented a tour bus for somehow and had it parked out in front.
Wow.
And when they announced the winner, I remember being in the bathroom peeing at barely 16 years old, and I hear these dudes going, again, I don't want to use the F word again, but it's like, faggot nigger band. I'm like, oh God, and I'm like, I don't want to leave the bathroom. And I know my parents and family and friends are out there, but like, these guys are older and could probably kick the shit out of me right
And
now.
yeah, and you're a little vulnerable there in the bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a little kid. You
Yeah,
ain't
little
supposed to be
kid.
here.
Yeah, yeah, not supposed to be there.
You know,
So we'd won that. And
shake
we
it
got
more than
to-
twice you're playing.
we had
with
one
it, that kind of thing, you know?
we'd won that, and we got to go to South by Southwest, and
And they like hung out together in the hot tub, drinking
oh,
beers
Jesus. Yeah, that's a
at
whole
the age
other-
of 16. You know, in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
I mean, they were living the rock star lifestyle at the age of, you know,
But
16.
well, we won that, and Tom Wood, who ran
Magic
Magic
105.
Right, Tom
Tom,
Woods are
who had-
huge, long time.
who lives right
DJ.
from-
he had lived across the street from me when the house I grew up in. He lived across the street from
Right
me,
down
him
the
and
street.
His kids. And his kids ended up, like, I used to babysit his kids, and his kids ended up hanging out with Subi Nun Squad and being a part of
Right.
that. I mean, circle,
Yeah,
full
so,
circle,
yeah,
circle,
okay.
circle,
for those,
circle.
Yeah, for those of our
Um,
viewers who haven't heard of Suvi Nun Squad, you should get on that right now. There's not a
Woo!
whole lot you can find online, but what you can find is worth your time.
They brought to me, Super Numb Squad was like a return of the Numbskulls because they brought the fun back into it.
There was no anger,
yeah,
there was no
I agree.
hatred, there was no, like, if anything was angry, or any songs were kind of pissed off, they were, Bikini Underwear was actually a diss song, if you would call it that.
Sure, that's about
It
as
was kinda
diss
making
as you
fun of
guys
somebody.
making fun of people
It
wearing.
was kind of making fun of
bikini
somebody,
underwear.
but like, I saw him changing pants, and I'm like, oh, that's weird.
So,
Good stuff.
Dumb stuff.
so yeah, somebody had to document all this stuff. So
So yeah, so you felt that was your perfect. You said you weren't a very good bass player. Did you try that and then just say, all right, forget it. I'll just put together the zine.
not really.
Tell me-
You know what happened really is
I know
I
you don't
didn't.
want to talk about the zine, but I've got to ask at least about
I don't mind talking about
the first zine, the first one you put together. How long did it take to come together, and how long had you been thinking about it before you put it together?
it. Well,
Was
it
it-
wasn't
was it
my
spur of the
it wasn't my
moment, or-
idea.
Okay.
It was my buddy Steve Schmidt, and he was going to put out a zine called. He went to Northeast as well, and he was going to put out a zine called Plaid.
Okay.
And what happened with him was he had graduated high school, and he was working at TCBY at the other, you know, right over there where the Target is, the McCain, you know,
The other
McCain
best
Mall.
yogurt.
And he wasn't really doing a whole lot, you know, with his.
I didn't know that about Steve.
Yeah, he graduated. He didn't. He was
He's
going to shows. and-
Floundering around.
yeah, kind of, you know, and this dude would come into TCBY, this homeless guy, and he would write. He would have paper and pencils, and he would write 1 to 27 over and over again. And at the time, Steve thought that this guy was trying to teach himself how to write.
Okay.
So he became inspired by this homeless guy who was trying to, with what little resources he had, he was trying to better his life.
Okay. So you
And
got
Steve,
inspiration.
and he kicked his ass, and Steve said, I'm gonna start a band, I wanna start a radio show, and I wanna start a zine. Well, what came out of all of that was Fluke Fanzine, Chino Horde, and KBF Audios America. All three of those things happened.
So they actually happened.
Fluke actually came about inspired by a homeless guy, schizophrenic homeless guy.
Wow.
And what happened was
Talk
Fugazi came
about full
through,
circle there.
Yeah, Fugazi
Fugazi came through
so that's a
town.
perfect opportunity.
and Steve interviewed them. Plaid Redneck came through town, Steve interviewed them.
Ah, so now he's got
Jason,
2 great interviews.
He's got
there.
2 great interviews. Jason and I hopped on board with him. I had some photos. We all did some record reviews.
And we're talking Kinko's, just
Oh,
folded and
yeah,
stapled.
Kinko's on JFK, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
DIY Kinko's.
now I
shoplifting like crazy.
I do
Colin Brooks
remember-
worked there, so we got like,
I
The hookup.
remember the time when everything at the Kinko's was kind of based on your word. They took your word for it. How many copies did you make? I made 20 copies. Okay, we'll charge you for 20
okay,
copies.
they used to have this thing
And-
called the copy counter.
Sure, sure.
Alright, and it was this big blue thing with a ticker. 0, 1 copy, 2 copy, 3 copy, 4. And what you would do is either you had one in your backpack and you would walk in with that, and then you would get one from them. The one that you had, you would rack up, 500 copies.
He's not
And then the
tricks
one
use
that they gave you,
Ah.
you'd put 20 copies on it.
I see.
And then you'd go pay for 20 copies.
Nice.
Or you could
That's
you
probably
could
they
hit the
changed
thing
they
until
changed
it
the
go back to
system.
0.
Okay.
Yeah, they changed
Yeah,
the
so
system.
yeah, probably. Yeah. I wonder why they would have done that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Take a little
you
credit for that.
just folded, stapled. How many copies of the first one did you make?
Probably like maybe 100.
Yeah, well, okay, well that's pretty good for your first zine, 100 copies.
And we just drove around town and passed them out to friends.
Hey,
you know,
yeah, take them
that's
to
all.
shows.
But also what we would do again is we would send it to Maximum Rock and Roll.
Right, yeah, because Maximum Rock and Roll is one of the few publications that review zines.
And
They
yeah,
will
and-
will tell people where they can find other zines.
And then they would write, we'd put the P.O. box on there, and then we'd get a couple letters. And that's how Lighten Up got big. See, what Tim Lamb did with Lighten Up was he made it seem like there was this huge scene in Little Rock.
Yeah, sure,
Because
blow it up a
his
little bit.
publication got spread out nationwide. And it was actually like, a well-respected magazine nationwide. And so these bands this buzz around Little Rock started happening because of that.
Ah, okay, so he kind of forced it into, kind of made it happen, sort of.
Yes, and then he put out Trusty's first 7-inch.
Kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. And he put out Trusty's first 7-inch, and then things started buzzing around, and Fugazi came through. Ignition came through town before Fugazi. And
Okay.
Ignition is Ian Mackay's brother, Alec.
Right.
So, and we're in Little Rock. We're right on the 40, and
Yeah, anybody
gotta come through
going to
anyway.
Memphis and then going to Dallas, they're going to come right through here.
I think maybe self-fulfilling prophecy is not quite the right way to put it. It was more of, I'm going to do whatever I can to document this,
Okay.
and
He
throughout
was smart enough to see it.
exactly,
see it happen.
and throughout the whole thing, there have been certain members who have had the ability monetarily via,
parents.
yeah, I didn't want to say that, but
Yeah.
yeah. And
There were
I
a good
mean,
number of the what we
there
call
was
the
the
trust
dude-
fund punk
Fall 13
kids.
kid, Bert, in lieu of, he graduated high school, his dad wanted to buy him a car, and he said no to that, help me put out a record.
Wow.
Everything
And
that
that's-
everything
Like,
that happened in
there were
Little
people
Rock.
there were people before him that did the exact same thing. Tim Lamb that did the exact same kind of thing. Like, no, I don't want a brand new car. Help me do this.
Yeah.
It was
And
all high school
that's
kids.
That's part of how Towncraft happened.
Yeah, I was going to mention now. You can for those of you who have maybe seen or haven't seen or heard about, there is a pretty good documentary called Towncraft. The thing I got from Towncraft was it didn't really touch on most of the stories and the bands and the people that I had grown up hearing about. And so when I saw Towncraft, I thought, well, this is pretty good, but there's clearly some stuff missing. Because anytime you make a documentary, you can't get everything in. But I was like, there's clearly some inside dirt. There's clearly some good stuff. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to get you and Andy being here is great as well, because you're not going to hear the story about if there was footage in Towncraft of the Valentine's Day dance, come on, I think all of our viewers probably would have seen it.
One of those really
I wanna see
big
it.
ass black Panasonic
I do believe
Yeah,
camcorders
sure.
that your dad,
Now you're saying there might be footage of this that exists?
maybe.
Maybe. Okay. All right.
I'm
Season
sure there. I'm sure
3.
there. I'm also sure there were a couple of parents there to film their daughter on her first Valentine's
Right,
Day.
probably
And
caught
then
you guys
some of that monstrosity.
terrified. Yeah, terrified.
They
to
probably
hear you in the
caught some of that,
background.
like, holy crap, why would they let this happen? And wrote the superintendent of North Little Rock Schools on that.
All right. All right.
So then.
So let's let you continue doing your zine about once a year. You just kind of about
service.
once a year, but then you moved away, and so obviously that's gonna put a damper on it. And even though you relocated to Phoenix, you still kind of got back. What year was
I
it?
moved
Back
to Seattle in '95,
but then
and then I
in,
moved to Arizona in 2000.
right, but then in 2005, suddenly issue 6. From 98 to 2005, that's a pretty good gap.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask a little bit.
Slow service.
I got busy in my life.
Was it another case of some having just the opportunity to have some, like before you had a couple of great interviews, so you got a couple of great interviews, why not do a zine? So did episode 6, issue 6 kind of come about that way, or was it something you had to really start from scratch and build?
Issue 6 was more. Issues 3 through 6 were more like kind of personal.
Okay.
And kind of talked more about the personal people and personal writings and personal people. What the hell is that?
Personal stories, like there
well,
was your biggest influence was
Comet Bus.
still is Aaron Combus, and if you don't know what that is or who that is,
Yeah,
you
it-
should go and
Comet
find
Bus.
that.
COMET Bus.
Comet Bus, that's right.
They're travel stories. They're just sometimes they're labeled as just a letter to a friend. I used to write them like that when I started traveling. Right around that time, right when I moved to Seattle, to you, I would just write letters to a friend of mine who, and I never intended to send them, and I would actually end up giving them to him, and you published a couple of them.
Yeah.
And never that'll teach you. Never give them
Fluke
anything
has
you don't
always
want to
really.
publish.
Fluke has mainly been about mostly my friends.
Yeah, it's a lot of submissions.
Yeah, I mean, really, I could spend the next 10 years just showcasing my friends. Like something like this would be great.
That's why I
to
do
have,
this. Yeah.
You know. But anyway.
And then in 2009, issue 7 came out.
Well, I got, I
And
kind of got like,
got-
I kind of was like, man, people don't want to read my personals. Like, let me get back into the music.
Right. So
And
yeah.
I hooked up with Mike Watt.
And if you get hooked up with Mike Watt, then
You're gold.
you're gold. You've got some great content.
And so I just started, that really kick-started it, and really, I got my second wind, and I wanted to like continue to contribute to punk rock because punk rock gave so much to me, and I wanted to just connect again with all my friends and people. And this is kind of this was kind of before Facebook, and I just wanted to do something again, something creative.
Yeah.
And
I can see how Mike Watt could kind of kickstart
Mike
your
Watt,
juices.
So, I mean,
and then it just Kevin Kirby, Jason White interviewed Kevin Kirby, a few other
there's a
people.
guy in this room right now.
Yeah, Bircho's here. Bircho, of course, from Trusty.
We wouldn't have. I wouldn't be me if I hadn't known you.
Yeah, we've actually got
Yeah, big,
since the show
big,
started,
big,
we've got
Wouldn't
the
you-
I
drummer for
apologize.
Trusty.
big.
Apologizing for
I spent my
Warwick.
entire time sitting right here apologizing.
Everybody, yeah, we owe Trusty so. It's like Jason White said. I don't know where I'd be right now if it wasn't for Trusty.
Yeah.
No,
Because
Trusty's
what
the band that
happened
got him going
was
as well.
Trusty gave us a place to go and be ourselves. Because
Actually-
you can't. Go ahead.
Let me expound on that. I don't even.
Is this gonna be a long story?
Yes, very.
Here we go. Okay.
I didn't know who I was until I discovered that. And then it became, let me be myself. But when I discovered these shows and bands and stuff, then it became like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Now I think I know who I want to be and what I want to be.
Yeah, first you have to see
And-
other people being themselves and all being different and clearly
And
not
that goes back to
clearly
Mike
making
Watt.
their own decisions.
When I asked Mike what does punk rock mean to you, he said it means letting your freak flag fly.
Yeah, whatever.
And that's what it was when we all met each other. We were like, oh, we're all kind of a little different, but we all belong, and we're, you know, it was great, man. It was like we found each other, and in turn we found ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and this whole thing, punk rock is another Minutemen thing. Punk rock changed our lives.
Yeah, I think most of us who got into punk rock can relate to that. We've got to kind of wrap this up, so let's talk about your most recent issue of Fluke. I wish I had it sitting right here because I think it's my favorite, and I know that's weird because there's no writing in it. But the newest
That's
issue of
my
Fluke
favorite.
is much larger, and it basically showcases the flyers from all of these shows we've been talking about and so many more. So if you're really into the DIY punk flyer, if you love those old school punk flyers, then you're really going to want to check out that most recent issue. Is that number
14.
Number 14, yeah.
Issue 13 was the 25th anniversary issue that came out in September of last year.
Oh,
And then issue 14 is a supplement to that.
yeah. Okay.
And
And you've got the LA Zine Fest coming up, so I guess that's lighting the fire under your ass for.
yeah, Mike
issue
Watt,
15.
actually, Mike Watt and I kind of became friends through the zine, and he came through Phoenix in November, and he wanted me to interview him again. He wanted me to interview him this time. Like, he asked me, you know, and I was
Nice.
like, wow, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm looking to get another issue out for the LA Zine Fest, which I got accepted for, which is an honor.
Well,
You know.
if you can get Mike Watt to come on this show, I'll totally let you interview him on this show.
That would be-
I'll
well,
just,
you know
I'll
what?
sit over there and pee my pants.
If
and
he's
you can
ever in
interview him.
town, he'd probably be into that. Actually,
There we go.
He's that kind of guy. He's, you know, so yeah. You know, the flyer thing was obviously this was pre-internet,
Right.
and you know,
Yeah, these are shows I've heard about. I've never seen these flyers.
the flyers were
I mean,
like big.
how long did it take you to amass all these flyers? I mean, you must have called everybody you knew.
Well, mainly I got them through Colette Tucker, who was the woman who would go around and post all the flyers on the telephone poles.
You know,
She was the one
Yeah.
doing the dirty
He
work.
wrote, you know, there were guys like him,
Marcus
zines
Lowe,
and stuff, but like,
Mark Dober,
Mark Slow.
and Cora Crary and Colette Tucker are the ones that gave me all the flyers for this.
there were
latest
other
issue.
cats. There were other cats that would dedicate their time to just driving around town with a staple gun.
Yeah, just,
You know,
yeah, it was
you-
dangerous in this town.
You'd go up to the Heights and you would see, okay, Trusty Numbskulls are playing this weekend.
Yeah.
You'd be in like down at Vino's, or you'd be like downtown Little Rock. You would see these flyers. So that's how that happened, and the flyers themselves were pieces of art.
Yeah, now kids, you may not remember this,
And
but
artifacts.
we had to actually use word of mouth and flyers that were stuck on telephone poles.
Right.
Smoke signals.
Smoke signals,
graffiti.
yeah. Graffiti, I do
Morse
remember
code, yes.
graffiti being used.
So yeah, but let me just say this. Screw the old days.
Okay.
You know, there's the what's going on now is much better than the old days, because what's going on now is going on right now.
No, I couldn't do
Like,
this in the old
these
days.
guys right here, Runaway Planet, this is what's happening right now.
And I'd like to
So
add,
this is great. You know, so I don't want this thing to be a nostalgia trip.
No,
because-
no.
All these people are still doing great things, whether it's music, artwork, or just raising kids. You know, when you said earlier, oh, you've been real busy, you've been taking photos. No, I haven't been busy doing that. I've been busy raising kids and
Family.
working a 40-hour-a-week job.
Yeah.
You know,
I'd like to add that whole riverfront thing only happened because we figured out those electrical outlets worked, and we didn't know where else to go.
Right.
So, but what
Right.
you've got going on right now is the exact same kind of thing, because you figured out how this equipment works, and then you know how electricity works, and you did this yourself. So it's the same thing.
and this is where Fluke started in North Little Rock. So
That's right here.
Dogtown Love. Thanks for having me on.
Oh
man.
man, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, well, without further ado, I'm going to chat for just another couple of seconds to make sure everybody's got their guitars on and in soon. Real quick, one more time, let's give up a huge round of applause to Matthew Thompson and Andy Conway.
That's off our latest CD, Tarnation. Coming up on its 10-year anniversary release. That's what happens when you get busy with kids and stuff. 40-hour work weeks and such. But anyhow, that was a song called Wrong, and we're going to do a song called Love's Left Behind, or get our bass player up here to sing this one. And he also wrote it, so I'm real proud of him and real proud of this one. Woo! Do you remember how it goes? I do. All right, then.
I left him face down in the cold, bloody ground. My darling was home unaware. She hid in his arms, this other confessed. Her life was all I would spare. I'll travel no more the hills of Kentucky, or hang from the neck till I die. Mary took her love, gave to another. How she cries. Since that darkest hour she never saw him, and I have been gone a long time. May she never know if I took his life, or if it was he who took mine. Travel no more the hills of Kentucky, or hang from the neck till I die. There is a love.
Like I said, I was Mr. Michael Provo on bass fiddle over here. Matt Stone, infamous Matt Stone on mandolin. Grizzly Adams, Steve Breyer back here on the banjo. And my name's Greg Alexander. Hi, Internet World. How are you? Everything's fine. It's It's so cool to be here tonight for everybody and having this punk rock show and all the talks about all that stuff. I was a little bit around the DMZ, believe it or not, back in the day. And
In Korea? Or
no. It turned into Vinos and did catch a couple of really good. Do remember the Numbskulls? Do remember Trusty? Also Hosty Duo. You remember those guys?
Oh, love those guys.
So I think it was those. But anyhow. But Little Rock is home. Speaking of, we're going to do a song again off our latest CD, Tarnation, coming on its 10-year anniversary release. Thank you, folks. Thank you. And by a local singer-songwriter, rock and roller, Mr. Michael Goodrich. I used to live by the river. I used to see him in a place called the Living Room, and just loved this song and watched him play it and scribbled down as many words as I could on a napkins. And came home and put it together and then got his approval, and we're going to do it for you now. So, did I leave anything out? No. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. By the river. may pour with them strangers been traveling through this world below. Got no toll, no signal danger in that fair land, which I'll go. And I'm going home. Well, it's only 4 week practice, so I'm just gonna go.
With the red bars.
Something fast.
If you don't do one more, you'll get half a spoonful of peanut butter.
Sorry,
Is that crunchy or creamy?
creamy.
Alright, we'll do one more for you. This is another one off our. Now, the joke's over. Hold on, folks. Like an ink crawl across around some old cabin place. And I listen to the wind to my soul calls. And I think, every time you and Mom, I was free from the bitter I was painted and rest, I was free. Every time I tried to give my best, I was holding on to what you had is gone. You just let it go. I keep holding on, holding on. Holding on. Holding on. Crawling across around small cabin place. And I listen to the wind until my soul calls. And I think, every time you were in my arms, I was free from the bitter I was painted and rest. I was free. Every time I try to get my best, holding on to what you had is gone. You can let it go. I keep holding on, holding on. Holding on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, 2 scoops of peanut butter per man member. Yes. Oh, thanks so much to our guests, Matthew Thompson, Andy Conrad, Runaway Planet. You can find these guys at runawayplanet.net, I believe. Right. Yeah, all right. And you can, I believe there's some videos of you guys on YouTube as well. So YouTubers, hit their videos, find some other performances where they haven't been kidnapped and stuck into a little tiny place to do this. All right, so I want to real quick, because earlier I totally forgot to show you my awesome issues of Fluke. Take a look at this. This is what we're talking about. Go to Fluke. Look at this DRI. Look at these trusty flyers.
You can get it at Arkansas Record and CD Exchange.
Locally, Arkansas. Okay,
Right down the road.
we got amazing. Amazing picture. See, Little Rock really did have an amazing punk rock scene.
Woo! Yeah!
Oh, look at this one. Look at that. Oh, it's
Yeah!
Trusty Jawbox. Look at that. And really, Trusty did just get tacked onto every show, didn't they? Lucky ducks. Okay, so next week, stay tuned. We've got an amazing show. I can't even remember who's on it, but the graphics at the end will tell you. So, who wants a free Fluke Zine to make up for the fact that I thought so. I'm not giving you that one. That's a good one. Okay, let's see. Okay, who deserves one? That's the question.
Nobody deserves one. Makes for good toilet paper.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll give one to the cue card guy. We'll give one to you. Okay, to you. Okay, I got one more. One more. You get the one with the shiny cover. Yes! Okay, so thank you guys for watching. I know tonight's episode was a little longer than normal, but we had so many great stories and we just couldn't shut those guys up, so it was as long as it was. Alright, what are we going to do? Let the band not play enough more songs because of that? No.
Play one more.
No. No, don't make them play another one. Alright, thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Woo!
Yeah!
Josh.